Tainter of Brant Elementary, and today we're going to read When Charlie McButton Lost Power by Suzanne Collins. Charlie McButton had likes and like-nots. Things that he liked involved handsets and bots, computerized games where he battled bad creatures. The things he liked did not have blow-up features. Then one day blew into town. A thunderstorm blew into town and brought his tech empire tumbling down. A lightning bot struck the electrical tower, and Charlie McButton, his whole world lost power. He looked to the left, he looked to the right, his heart filled with dread. The TV, the lights, and clock were all dead. He jumped to his feet, his lungs gasping for air. The room spun around as he clung to his chair. He tried to cry for help, but just managed a squeak. The blackout had blacked out his power to speak. Thank goodness his mother had ears like a bat. She came to the room and gave him a pat. Help. Oh, Charlie, she said, picking up on his fears, the lights will come back on when the bad weather clears. You'll have to find something without plugs to play. Read a book, clean your room, sing a song, model clay. Could anything be duller than clay? Sloggy, clay on a soggy gray day? He hated the way clay got under his nails, and now all he could make was snowmen and snails. He dove for a gadget that he outgrown last spring. It was handled, outdated, and not much of a thing. He clutched the old toy like a lifeline that day. See, it ran one battery, the size AAA. He flicked the on and off switch on double quick, but no happy humming sound followed the click. He unlatched the hatch and his blood turned to ice. The battery is gone from my backup device. World records were set in the 10-meter dash. As he dashed down the hallway, he flew in a flash. Seeking for one battery, just one AAA. It would rescue the boy from a gray day of clay. But just as he passed, his search drove him insane. He ran past the bedroom of Isabel Jane. The 3-year-old sister was happily walking, a doll back and forth, and the doll was talking. Now, dolls don't talk, as a rule. They need a power source, some kind of fuel. In less than a second, he made the decision. Call it a bad judgment or a real lack of vision. And somehow his head didn't warn him of his folly, and Charlie McButton pounced on that dolly. He plucked the prize of the baby's doll dress, and Isabel Jane made a sound of distress. It was a short walk to the foot stairs where resided McButton, the timeout chair. To add to the fun of his term of his seat, Isabel Jane came to play at his feet, and Isabel Jane, the battery queen, had more AAAs than he had ever seen. They powered her puppies, they powered her clocks, they powered her talkative alphabet clocks. Assaulted by a nonstop mechanical chatter, Charlie McButton got madder and madder. He snapped at his sister from his timeout zone. How come you can't just ever leave me alone? Her eyes filled with tears. She gave them a rub. She went to the bathroom and she hid in the tub. Then Charlie McButton felt totally rotten, and he couldn't help stop thinking of something he'd forgotten. Mainly he thought that for his sister's toddle. Maybe Isabel Jane was a pretty good model. She clearly adored him, and she didn't have fleas. At dinner, she secretly ate his peas. And sometimes, although he mostly deny it, he walk up and sit beside her, there in the quiet, wrapped up in a blanket watching TV, her head on his shoulder, his foot on her knee. When she sat and she thought, and he stared at the rain, he thought when his timeout was done, he found Isabel Jane. From the edge of the tub, she gave him a peek. He said, "Hey, so are we gonna play hide and go seek?" She was happy at once and ran into the hall. She loved to play hide and go seek most of them all. As it turns out, it began counting to 10. They hid in plants in the guinea pig's pen. Then he found Isabel Jane in her quilt. They decided a big blanket fort should be built. The gloom made him think about dragons and spells. So Charlie became the great wizard of mixed smells. And Isabel Jane, who desired a role, magically transformed into a faithful old troll. Between tracking down dragons and blowing up lizards, they handled the day-to-day business of wizards. And forging his faithful old stroll, the new sword, Charlie McButton forgot to be bored. At supper they ate under real candlelight, and daytime they melted right into night. And after they'd been asleep for an hour, the world became alive with a surge of power. Oh, it's finally back on, Charlie thought with a grin. Tomorrow I'll wake up and I can plug in. But another thought hit him that he couldn't explain. I might also find dragons with Isabel Jane. Thank you.